Alright, so, time for some Q&A answering stuff. So let's kick things off with my El Tigre Q&A. And the first question comes from, let me see one question, let me see real quick here. Got a pseudo New York voice going on. So, first questions come from, hang on, gotta pull them up. Sorry, this is taking a little while. I'm trying to make sure that I get all the questions this time around, because I'm always afraid I'm going to miss somebody's questions. So I apologize in advance for that. Anyway, so I think I got them because I wanted to look through all the questions and make sure someone hadn't missed a question. But on the off chance I missed someone's question, that usually means that YouTube marked it as spam or didn't even have it show up at all, because sometimes they do that. So I do apologize in advance if I didn't answer someone's question. Anyway, so let's get started with Major Badass. And Major Badass asks, which teen heroes would you like Manny to meet the most? In terms of characters I'd like to have Manny meet the most, there's actually going to be a few characters he meets in the Ultimate Universe. Let me explain. Now, for those who don't know, I work on a Marvel fanfiction site called Marvel 2K14, which is something that me, Mount Vernon Kid, and several other people write. And I do 2 Ultimate titles. And we also, since this is fanfiction, we actually have several non-Marvel characters in this universe, even in the Ultimate Universe. And the 2 titles I'm writing for in the Ultimate Universe, in this fanfiction Ultimate Universe, is Ultimate El Tigre and Ultimate Danny Phantom. And the Ultimate El Tigre series is only an 8-part miniseries, whereas the Ultimate Phantom series is an ongoing, which I need to get back to. Anyway, but that's in terms of teen heroes there. Miles Morales, we're also going to have the Ultimate Young Avengers in there. So, or the Young Ultimates, as they're going to be called. So, that'll be pretty fun. But in terms of young heroes I'd like him to meet outside of the little self-promoting I just did there, I think in terms of other characters I would like him to meet, I think it would be cool to see him hang out with, like, maybe Randy Cunningham. Because those two would probably, get into so much trouble. Like, they sometimes abuse their powers, and I think they would get along pretty quickly. So I think Randy and Manny would get along very nicely. In terms of other young superheroes, I could see him I could see Manny hanging out with Miles, which probably will happen. No guarantees in the fanfiction universe, but I could see him also hanging out with, I think other than Randy and Miles, those are the only 2 I could think of right off the top of my head. I think it would be fun to see him interact with. Alright. So thank you for that question. Your second one is, do you think Manny would ever settle on an alignment later on down the road in his career? Or do you think he'll always do what he wants? I'd like to have thought that he would have not chosen a side and just continued on the way he is, like just be kind of indifferent, play both sides of the field. If I could say anything in the show and he grew older, he'd be more like, yeah, I'm just going to do what I want. I'll just be, out for me. I'll just play both sides of the field. I can't choose because both have their, their ups and downs. So, yeah. I think that's how I would be cool with that if the show continued. Third question. If you could pick your own mystic artifact, theme, power, and alignment, who would you pick? What would you pick? Okay, mystic artifact. A hat. Yes, I would pick a hat. And theme, I guess animal theme, would be maybe a reptile, some kind of reptile. And alignment, evil, because it's always fun to be evil. So, there you go. Oh yeah, I forgot powers. Maybe, I don't know, powers that a crocodile would have, like superhuman bite or something? I don't know. So anyway, thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Victor De Silva, who asks, First question, El Tigre related question. In the movie The Book of Life, there's a cameo appearance by some of the main characters from the show. They made an appearance in the movie as followed: Manny, Frida, Grandpappy, and Grandpappy, and in the 2D animation. And I was like, but I thought Nicktoons owned the rights to the show. Well, I think Nickelodeon owns the rights to. I honestly think Nickelodeon own the rights to The Book of Life. Yeah, I think they are the ones, because you saw a lot of self promotion on their on Nickelodeon the most. So I think it is under them. That's what yeah, it is under them. So that didn't shock me. But I have not seen The Book of Life yet, so I might actually go see it just to see if I could find Manny and the others. So thank you for the heads up. Second question. There's apparently going to be another show made by the show creator called George R. The creator of El Tigre, about wrestling. Okay, thanks for the heads up. I'll probably check it out. Hopefully it'll get more than 2 seasons. Alright, third question. If Manny Rivera ever got a chance to watch anime on television, which shows would be very appropriate for his heritage? Example, Machiko and Hachin. Oh, I've heard of that anime. It's actually really good. I think he would like that anime. I think he'd also like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, as well as, obviously, like all, starters for anime, people who get into anime first. It's Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, but these days it's Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. Yeah. So yeah, he'd probably be into something like one of those 3, Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece. So one of those. Even Hunter x Hunter, maybe. Yeah. So thank you for those questions, Victor Da Silva. Moving on now to the Omnitron 12345. And his first question is, if you could adapt any superhero villain whose power item as a kid in Manny's school, who would it be, and what would their dynamic with Manny and Frida? I don't know, maybe, I guess Clarion? Clarion the Demon. That would be an interesting opponent for Manny. I think that's the question. Oh wait, I get the question now. If I could adapt any supervillain and make them a kid. Let's go with Kid Loki with his wand. Yeah, let's do that. That'll be fun, and have him dick around with Manny and Frida. So thank you for that question. Next one. Billy Batson meets Manny Rivera. What happens? Billy is like, dude, you're just completely wild. Either pick a side or don't. Shazam, motherfucker! Zoom! And that's what happened. End scene. I think I just started Shazam, motherfucker, as a thing. Anyway, and your final question is: if Frida had gotten and kept a superhero villain identity, who do you think it would be? Okay, if Frida manages to keep it a superpowered identity, what would be her identity? I would have to say something along the lines of maybe just to compensate, because obviously El Tigre and the Rivera family is based around cats. How about a dog? El Lobo or something. I don't know. That's what I think. So there you go. Thank you for those questions, Omnitron. Moving on now to Andrew Varney, whose first question is, what would be Manny's reaction to the following characters? The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, 2012 Ninja Turtles, cast of Big Hero 6, movie version, the main 6, and the Mystery Shack crew from Gravity Falls. Okay, first off, he would look at the Power Rangers and be like, whoa. He would just be in total awe. Especially with Tommy, because Tommy is Best Ranger. And the Ninja Turtles. Don't put him and Mikey in the same room. That's a horrible idea. The cast of Big Hero 6. That'd be great. Like him hanging out with Hiro and the others. I think I think he would get along the most with Fred. Like him and Fred would be getting in the most trouble. The main 6. Again, do not put him with Rainbow Dash because they will prank everybody, and it would be a horrible experience all around. And that goes the same for Mabel. God, no! Could you imagine Mikey, Manny, Rainbow Dash, and Fred all together, that's a horrible idea. No one would be safe from those pranks. Anyway, second question. What would Puma Loco think of the Ice King, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, Dr. Draken, and Little Gideon? He would look at them and go, "You're all pathetic." That's my best Grandpappy impression. That's my best Puma Loco impression. Yeah, I think he would look at all of them and just be like, "You all are disappointing." That would literally be his look. He'd just look at them once and be like, "You pass for supervillains now? Pathetic." Anyway, third question. Your final question. What would Frida think of Isabella from Phineas and Ferb? Honestly, I think she would look at Isabella and be like, "God, you just are no fun." Because obviously Frida is very, out there, very outgoing, while Isabella can be that way too, but Isabella's very nice, and, I think she would just, Frida would be a little too high-strung for Isabella, and Frida would look at her and go, "God, you are girly." Yeah. So thank you for those questions, Andrew Varney. Look forward to seeing what you do with the Phineas and Ferb fanfiction idea. So anyway, next question comes from MB Free. Your first question is, what is your favorite episode? For you said it was The Grave Escape. While I like The Grave Escape, I really think it's a really cool idea of delving into the afterlife, or at least the Mexican version of the afterlife. And that's what I really liked about El Tigre on a whole, is that it really delved into, Hispanic culture. And you clearly see that in a lot of Gutierrez's work, is that it really delves into the culture he grew up in. Rather than, it's this way, that, it just gives you the cliff note. No, it really goes in there sometimes. But yeah, I really like The Grave Escape. Everything with the Flock of Fury. All 4 of those episodes involving Black Cuervo and the Flock of Fury. Love those episodes. Also with Dr. Chipotle Jr. Those are also good. And, what's another good one? The one where they try to make Grandpappy a good kid, They try to say he's a good guy, and I love how that ends. My grandson tries to destroy my. I can't even finish it. Oh man, but it's really good. So thank you for that. And your second question is, how cool would a Mucha Lucha El Tigre team-up be? Oh, it'd be great! I miss Mucha Lucha! Man, that was so cool! Oh, that'd be so great. I don't know what would happen, mind you, but I think it would be really cool. Anyway, so thank you for that question. Moving on now to Dylan Malone 14, and you ask, what superhero team would you want to see Manny be a part of and why? I think he would fit really well on the Young Avengers. He would be really cool on the Young Avengers lineup. I think he would be a valuable member, and him and Speed would be, those two would be, BFFs instantly. Anyway, your second question is, what do you think would happen if Manny met other young heroes like him? I kind of already answered this question already, but Manny's just a prankster, and I think some of the other heroes would be like, dude, either choose a side or, give up. I think some of the more serious heroes would be like that, but anyway. And your third question is, what will happen if El Tigre faced off with the Joker? What would be the outcome of that matchup? That would be a curious encounter indeed. I would have to say, I think Manny would be like, the Joker, he's a guy with clowns. A guy with no powers beats him on a daily basis. How bad could it be? Oh, he'll discover how bad it could be. And for this one, I'm going to say not the Dark Knight Joker, but more like the comic book Joker we've been seeing lately. He would learn very quickly that the Joker's a force to be reckoned with, even without powers. Alright. Thank you for those questions, Dylan Malone. Moving on now to King Nazaru, who asks, how do you think a grown El Tigre, White Pantera, and Puma Logo would react if El Tigre were forced to marry Melina from Mortal Kombat? Well, I think Manny's first reaction seeing Melina would be, damn, I have to marry and have sex with that. Okay, I got to do what I got to do to save, Miracle City from Shao Kahn and all that. And then the wedding night would happen. He would not want a BJ for that girl, I'm telling you right now. Like, he would look at that, when he saw that girl's mouth, he'd be like, oh, shit! No, that would even be worse. Like, he had to kiss the bride, she takes off the veil, and be like, oh, fuck me! Oh, no. Yeah. So thank you for that question. Your next one is, how well do you think Inspector Javert could maintain order in Miracle City? None. He would look at all the crime and corruption in the city and just be like, fuck this, I'm going back to France, or being dead because I killed myself in the end of the movie. The musical, excuse me. Alright, third question. What would be El Tigre and Frida's words for fighting Alucard and Dracula from Rosario plus Vampire in his true form? Okay, here it is in one word. Dang. That would be it right there. So I think those questions, King Nazaru. Moving on now to Christian Sager, who asks, Manny's grandpa meets Dr. Eggman. No, those two would not get along at all, because Eggman is so full of himself, and Grandpappy has a code of honor as a villain's, and Eggman has no honor, so he'd just be like, you're a fat, ugly disgrace. So your second question is, Manny reacts to Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, Snow White, Felicia from Darkstalkers, Toylinator, the cast of Mucha Lucha, Red Hood, Bulk and Skull from Power Rangers. That's an interesting lineup. So I think him and Jaime would be the BFFs. And I honestly, going back to the first question from Major Badass, I should have put Jaime as one of the characters he would interact with. Him and Jaime would be, pretty cool as well. Not because they're the same ethnicity, but the same thing of, man, I've got all this power and all this responsibility. I have this almost, all this great power inside of me, and I don't really know what to do with it. That's what I'm saying, is that's where their connection would be. Not because they're both Hispanic, but because they've been thrust upon with all this great power, and they have, sometimes they don't even know what the hell to do with it. And sometimes they pursue their own goals with it. Anyway, so Snow White. Now, are you talking about Snow White from the Disney movie, Snow White from the book, or Snow White from Once Upon a Time, which I have not seen yet, so I don't know how to answer that, really, sorry. Felicia from Darkstalkers. He would he would give Felicia one look and just be like, I have to use the bathroom for about 5 minutes. I'll be right back. I gotta, just give me a minute, or 3, 4, 5, depending how long this is gonna. You're hot. I gotta, end scene. And the Toylinator. He would just be, if you guys have seen you guys remember from the show where Black Cuervo's attacking the city, and she's trying to get El Tigre's attention, and he's like, alright, I see you, El Tigre. Beep. That would be his reaction to the Toylinator. I've already talked about Mucha Lucha. The Red Hood, Jason Todd. He would look at Jason and see how cruel he is. He would just be like, God, I don't want to be you. And for Bulk and Skull, they'd be pranking everybody. Oh, man. Alright, and your third question is, could the evil living mustache be somehow related to the mind-controlling living mustache from K&D, like an offshoot of the same species? Well, considering, mustaches don't have species or, genetic code, they don't really have a subspecies or something of that, I don't think that's a possibility. Besides, Dr. Chipotle Jr. created the mustache out of pure energy from El Tigre's belt, so I'm gonna have to say no. Same with those questions, Christian Sager. Moving on now to Robert Larson, who asks, Favorite shipping? Ooh, I'm so happy about this question. So happy about this question. So happy. Now, most of you guys would suspect me to say, like, Manny and Frida. Wrong. It is, in fact, put a drum roll in your head. Manny and Zoe, a.k.a. Black Cuervo. Why do I like them over Manny and Frida? Now, if you like Manny and Frida together, that's totally fine. No ill will against you. Me personally, I just can't stand Frida. She's usually the bad influence on him. And you could say, well, Zoe is too. Zoe is a bad influence too, but you can clearly see a connection there that Zoe has a lot, she does generally care about Manny, even though it's kind of like a Batman-Catwoman relationship. It really does feel like that. It really does feel like Batman and Catwoman. And she did honestly say, El Tigre was the first friend she ever had, and yeah, I feel like she would be a lot more reserved, but still like the voice of, she'd still be the bad girl, but the voice of reason to Manny, like, okay, listen, if you're gonna steal this is a horrible idea. Where Frida would be like, fuck the rules. So I feel like, Zoe would be the better stable, she'd be the better the more stable one in the relationship. And I think she would go along with a lot of stuff, but still be the one to pull Manny back, whereas Frida just goes all out. I don't know, like, there's just been times where I was like, God, Frida, you're really annoying. Again, if you like Frida and Manny with Frida, totally fine, no ill will against you. Me personally, I prefer Manny with Zoe. Also, in terms of that, I also like Rodolfo, aka White Pantera, with Zoe's mom, La Vultura. I like that pairing as well because it's unsung. I mean, it gets some love from time to time, but you don't see it a lot, and I really like, the Batman-Catwoman aspect to it. And again, I just kind of like the idea of them together. So thank you for that question. Your second one is favorite villain. Black Cuervo. In fact, the Flock of Fury in general. I love the Flock of Fury in general. They're just so much fun to see them together, and the whole point of them is to destroy El Tigre and his family just because they broke up with them. And it makes you wonder, well, who the hell did you bang to have your kids? I mean, honestly, Lady Gobbler had to have had sex with somebody to have Vultura, and the same thing with Vultura and Zoe. There had to be a dad there to fix this, or she must have gone to the sperm bank or something. I don't know. Maybe there's the miracle. There's a black market on, sperm. I'm having too much fun with this Q&A, if you can't tell. Third question. What would Manny think of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac? He would look at him and be like, "You're a homicidal maniac," to which Johnny would respond with, "Darn tootin'! Excuse me while I skin this poor human being alive." That would be the general consensus. So thank you for those questions, Robert Larson. Moving on now to Burnouter7, who asks, what would happen if the Venom symbiote attached itself to Manny? Nothing good would come of this. Why? Because imagine if the symbiote could get a hold of the power of the El Tigre belt. It's supposed to be of mystic origin, so it would be about as bad as if the Venom symbiote got a hold of Thor. You don't want to give that kind of power to him. Alright, what would happen if Manny decided to be an anti-hero instead of picking a side? I think that's what he should have done at the season finale, where that's where I feel like the show really should have ended, instead of that, 15-minute ender right there with no boots, no whatever, that end of the series, where I think what would really happen is that Manny has to pick a side finally on which where is he going to stand, and then he says, "I'm going to be an anti-hero. I'm going to fight for justice, but still do my own thing." Ha! And I think that would have been a very good in his character, where he could play both sides of the court. But yeah. And your final question is Randy Cunningham versus El Tigre. Who wins? Well, Randy is been trained by the Namacon, whereas Manny has to think of all of his moves on his own. But Randy's just as arrogant, and Manny is also pretty arrogant too. So I don't really know I don't know. So thank you for those questions, Burnouter. Moving on now to Manny meets. Excuse me. These questions come from Mystery997, who asks, Manny meets Miles Morales on vacation. How does that weekend go? Awesomely, especially if it's going to be in the Ultimate Universe, which it might be. Manny and Miles will probably have a lot of fun together, and they probably will in the fanfiction that's coming eventually. I need to get back to writing that. I'm so busy, as you guys know. Second question. What would El Tigre Okay, your second question is, would El Tigre translate well into a movie if it was a bit more serious in tone but still had humor, and would it be in the vein of Scott Pilgrim? I think it would be cool to see something in the vein of Scott Pilgrim, but and it could be an interesting route, but I think it could transition well. The problem is, it never really had a huge fan base to it, so I don't know if it could, survive on its own as it did. But I am I'm inclined to believe that it could have lasted, and I think a movie could be cool. But the trouble is that could you get people to watch it? I mean, obviously, Book of Life did. I didn't see the movie, but I didn't hear it. It got beat down at the box office, apparently. All right. And your final question is, what would happen if Manny had had a crossover with Danny Phantom? I think that would have been really cool. Again, those two shows were the only superhero shows on Nickelodeon at the time, and I think somewhere down the line they were talking about a crossover between the two shows, because the three crossovers they had with Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents. So I think there was supposed to be if I heard rumors that there was supposed to be an El Tigre Danny Phantom crossover, but they never got around to it. Had they done it, I think it would have been a lot of fun to see them come together, hang out, and, Danny looking and be like, you're a little short to be on the heroic side, and you're a little thin to be a little threatening. Anyway, so thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Travis Rendon, who asks, what other characters from Mexican mythology would you have liked to have seen? I think it would have been cool to bring in more Mexican mythology. I mean, obviously you had the Land of the Dead and a few other things. Sorry, I had to get some water. What I would have liked to have seen, and I'm incorporating this in Ultimate El Tigre because it's not exactly like the same thing, is that Manny in this Ultimate El Tigre series of the Marvel 2K14 fanfiction series, is that Manny is the avatar of Zeit Totek, who is, again, I'm horrible at pronouncing these names, but Zeit Totek, if I pronounced it right, is the god of fire, war, and rebirth. And something happened in Manny's past life, not past life, something happened in Manny's past that caused these two to meet, and for Manny to be El Tigre. You see, his power doesn't come from the belt. It's actually part of his costume. He's actually been given, or so he believes, he's been given power by Totek to be the sword of justice. To be this sword of justice to the world. And Manny goes out at night while still being in high school. Yeah, he's older in this series. Keep that in mind. He's around 14, 15 years old. And a teenager and still working out junior high school life. And he's also, got some problems of his own. He's got some past demons in his life, but still tries to keep the upbeat Spider-Man-esque persona at night. Anyway. But yeah, sorry for that. But yeah, I kind of am incorporating, Mexican mythology in there. So yeah, to answer your question. Your second question is, do you like Zoe as a villain or a permanent ally to Manny? I personally would have thought that Zoe would have become a personal ally to Manny, and she will be in the fanfiction series. And yeah, if you guys, as I've already said, there's going to be a romance between the two. But what about Frida? It'll be explained in the 8-part mini. So where was I going with this? With Zoe, I kind of made her a ally, but she'll start out as a villain starting next issue, which I still have 7 more to do in this 8-part series. Yes, I've only done 1 issue. I'm busy. I'm trying. So yeah, she's a permanent ally. Third question. Would you have liked Manny to have a rival that powers off of a wolf or dog? You know, the whole cat versus dog thing. I think that would have been really cool. I think that would have been really cool if he had a rival to, not really, because then that would have to make him a hero, but maybe someone who's trying to outdo him and call him, I don't know, the Hound or something. His last name would be Clegane. Hi-oh! Anyway. So, next question comes from... Thank you for those questions, Travis. Moving right along to Carmen X, who asks, if you could redo El Tigre, what changes would you do? I think I would make Manny and everyone else a little older. I think I would make them about, like I am in the Ultimate fanfiction series I'm doing, around teenagers, 15, 16 years old, and maybe have it that, a lot of Manny's actions... And maybe try to keep that he has a secret identity. That's what I'd probably do, is that he has a secret identity where where in the other universe it's public. I don't know. Or maybe because the whole secret identity thing's a little been done to death. Maybe I would keep the public identity. They did that with Kim Possible and it worked out pretty good. Anyway. So, thank you for that. Your next question is, if you could give a non-powered character the belt, who would it be? Mabel. Mabel from Gravity Falls. Could you imagine her as La Tigresa? No one would be safe. I mean, Dipper would look at her and go, Mabel, please take off the belt. You've caused more damage than good. The tower, the water tower is like in half. I don't even want to talk about the mystery. Look what you did. No, look what you did. That shouldn't be upside down, now should it? No. Just take off the belt. End scene. Alright, the final question is, if you could bring back La Tigresa, how would you do it, and would you have it be Frida or someone else? I think what I would do is maybe have it that be a part of the belt, or the some of Manny, the belt from some of the energy from Manny's belt gets transferred to somebody else, and I don't know how exactly. And it's given to Zoe after she gives up being part of the Flock of Fury and ends up being part of Manny's team and becomes the next La Tigresa, making her his sidekick or partner, as she would call it. All right. So thank you for those questions, Carmen X. Moving right along to Nicholas Harley. I think that's... I apologize if I butchered that last name. But yeah, Nicholas asks, what do you think will be the future of Manny and Frida's relationship? I don't really know because, I'm not really into that pairing. I mean, I don't hate it, but Frida always annoyed me. Because she's just an enabler, really. She's an enabler when it comes down to it. But I don't know, like the future of their relationship. I think they, either they would continue on as a good couple, because obviously Manny and Frida are based off of the creator and his wife. So yeah, I could probably see that. Or B, they would probably be, like, oh, we were better off as friends, so let's break this off. All right. Second question is, do you think Manny's mother could control the power of the Gauntlet in the future? Probably not, because that thing's like the Venom symbiote. The more power you give to it, the more influence over you it has. So clearly, that thing could never be controlled to begin with. So I'm gonna have to say that's a big no for me, sadly. And your final question is, what would happen if there was a Miracle City invasion by all of Manny Rivera's past villains? It's kind of already that the villains own... It feels like the villains already run the city because they have a lot of control over the town as it is, so I don't think they need to invade. Because the thing is that they already invade on a daily basis. Even with giant monsters, they constantly invade. It's just another Tuesday night in Miracle City when there's a crime spree. So think of those questions, Nicholas. Moving on to Andre Partridge, who asks, how would you imagine a team-up between El Tigre and the Teen Titans? How would a team-up between El Tigre and the Teen Titans go? Not Teen Titans Go, the regular Teen Titans. I would have to say that maybe, if we're going by animated standards, I would have Brother Blood try to set up his school again, or at least a version of the school in Miracle City, because there's so much crime and corruption there that he would be right at home, and the Titans follow him, and thus leading to a team up between Manny and the Titans. That's how I see it so far. All right, which El Tigre villain is your favorite? I've already answered this question again. Black Cuervo. So yeah. Okay, fuck, marry, kill. Vultura, Manny's mom, or Sartana. Okay, in this order: kill Sartana, fuck Vultura, and marry Maria. I think that was a little easy for him. That was a little too easy, but I don't know, because I don't want to, again, I gotta bring up the whole thing of what the hell happened to Zoe's dad if she had one. Was she cloned? Was there, a discount the sperm bank? What? I have to know these things! Or else I'll write something in fanfiction and it'll be stupid as all hell! I don't know these things! I have to know! Anyway, I need to shut up now. So, next questions come from... So think of those questions, Andre. Moving right along to Robert Avram, who asks, what do you think of Manny's hero-villain complex? I think it's really cool because, for a long time, no character was dancing in between hero and villain, especially in animation. So it was nice to see, him do that and have so much fun with it rather than be conflicted, which you saw some of the time, but for the most part, it's like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna do what I want. Alright, if El Tigre teamed up with any Marvel or DC or anime or cartoon teams, who would it be? Who would you choose and why? I'm going to answer this because I'm going to go with a cartoon team. The Teen Titans. The animated Teen Titans. Or the Gargoyles. I don't know, that'd just be a cool mesh right there. Alright. Alright, third question is... if Manny met Cora and Finn the Human from Adventure Time, what do you think would happen? I think we would have the new Trinity right there. Manny, Finn, and Cora. Move over Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. This is the new Trinity right here. There you go. Oh, man. So think of those questions, Robert Avram. Moving on now to Wolfman the Impaler. First question is, how would Manny react if Strax from Doctor Who, Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, Thrax from Power Rangers Time Force, and the Max somehow wound up at his school as janitors? I think out of all of them, Strax, I think he would just watch in awe as all the villains all these characters would be constantly trying to outdo one another in terms of cleaning. Especially Strax, because he would be like, I have been a perfect butler for over so many years. Because I don't know how long I've been with Madame Vestra and Jenny, but I can assure you that my cleaning habits are perfectly 100% paluable. Oh, look, a evil stain. Prepare to be crushed by the Centauran Empire. There you go. Second question. Who would win in a fight? Krillin and Yamcha from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, or Manny's Rogues Gallery and a Cyberman? Do I have to say it, guys? Just chalk it right up to Krillin, Yamcha, pwned list. And your third question is, what would happen if Manny and Grandpa's dad smoked some pot while Manny is out with Frida doing Manny and Frida things? Okay, cut the bullshit, Impaler. I know what you mean by that. You know what he meant. Okay, if they smoked some pot, they would, they'd be like, "Whoa, man, this is some good shit right here." I mean, we need to talk to Sartana more. I mean, fuck. Am I supposed to be melting in the couch? Meanwhile, Manny would be like, "I don't want to do Manny and Frida things. I want to do Manny and Zoe things." I mean, sorry, Frida, you're cool and all, but Zoe's a freak. I just felt my skin crawl there. Let's just pretend they are older for the sake of, not being weird. Okay? Come on, people, be cool. Alright. Third question. Okay, yeah, those were all your questions. Thank you for those questions, Wolfman the Impaler. ActionFan19 asks, would Bane make a good villain for El Tigre? Hopefully that isn't racist. Wow, you just... Wow. I don't think it would be racist, but yeah, Bane would be a really good villain. It's kind of, I think El Tigre would be like, well, Bane can go get all juiced up as he wants. I have got mystic powers. And then he would realize, oh yeah, Bane can beat the shit out of me because he's smarter than me. Alright. Alright, your second question is, do you think Manny would be a good member of a young superhero team comprised of original cartoon superheroes like Danny Phantom, XJ9, Ben 10, and others? I think all the other heroes would be there, but then look at Manny and be like, dude, you gotta be, as I've said before, you've gotta be either a hero or you can't be on this team. You cannot be in and out. You gotta be on this side or you're fucked. We're gonna come after you if you screw up. So thank you for those questions, ActionFan19. Moving on now to Sleepyhead Extreme, who asks, if El Tigre had a slightly more serious tone, but still comical, who would you place him in the Marvel or DC universe? I think he works better in the Marvel universe, and he's kind of in fanfiction-wise the ultimate Marvel universe. I need to stop this self-promoting. It's not doing me any favors. Second question. Is there a character that you wish the show expanded on? Again, the Flock of Fury. And no joking aside, joking aside, I really wish we got some more episodes. Like, I would have loved to have seen a flashback, talking about, Rodolfo and Carmelita. That's her real name, Carmelita. Vultura's real name. What was their relationship like? And why did it go south as it did? And why did he pick Maria? Was their relationship like Batman and Catwoman before Maria came along? I would have liked to have seen that. I mean, I would have also liked to have seen, Zoe explored and maybe try to find out who her father is. Also, kind of explain why they're the way they are, and has the Aves family in general been like the Rivera family? Has this been a family tradition, or has it just been these three because they got spited by the Riveras? Or is it all has it always been the Aves have been spited by the Riveras? I'm curious. Anyway, so joking aside, I would have wished they'd seen more. I wish I had seen more of that. All right. Third question: if you wrote a story for El Tigre, what would it be about? Do I have to say it at this point? I would do more with, the Flock of Fury. If not them, I would do something with Dr. Chipotle Jr. I would have done something with that. If not the Flock of Fury, I would do something with Dr. Chipotle Jr. Maybe a story of him. I guess the story would be what would be a good story for something like this? Maybe talk about what he does on his off time, like what his family does on the off time, and explore the Chipotle family tree. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Serpent Talata, who asks, who do you think Manny will be in his adult or young adult years? I would imagine an anti-hero. Again, playing both sides of the field with Zoe by his side, trying to either be either full-on evil or be like, again, the voice of reason. Which character from Marvel or DC or any other media do you see as a good mentor for Manny? I would have to say, in terms of mentors, I would have to say Wildcat, and not because of the cat thing. It's that Ted Grant, Wildcat, has trained so many young superheroes like Black Canary, Stargirl, had a hand in even training Superman in boxing and Batman in terms of boxing. So I think, and he mentored so many people and got them off. He got them from from several other people, just even people off kids off the street, and taught them there's a better way. So I think he would be a really good influence on Manny, even more so than his own dad, who just says there's all I think Ted would be like, look, there is a gray area, and whatever you choose to do, that's going to be your life. No one can tell you otherwise. Whereas Rodolfo, bless his heart, he's trying his best, but he sees the world very black and white. And Ted, I think, would be a little more understanding. So there you go. So what kind of adventure would have El Tigre with Danny Phantom? I kind of already answered this question. But maybe something to do with this. I have kind of add on this, that maybe it would have something to do with the land of the dead and is connected to the ghost world, is connected to the ghost zone, and probably play with that. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Yojiros Vaslores. I feel like I'm constantly butchering that name. Sorry, I had to get some water. What would it be like if Manny met the Eds from Edda and Nettie? I think Eddie would try to manipulate Manny into getting money, and Manny would be like, dude, you don't have to, shit talk me. I'm all for making free money. And it would just be Ed and Nettie, working with Manny to get, to make some dough. Alright, third question is, what kind of music do you think Manny would listen to as he got older? I think the music Danny would get in, I think the music he would listen to as he got older would be something like Linkin Park, Stained, not because go cry emo kid. It's more like, I think he just is that personality he has. Actually, no, the perfect band he would be listening to if he got when he got older, or right now, I think that the band that would be on his playlist constantly is The Offspring. The Offspring would perfectly fit Manny's personality. They would perfectly fit his personality to a T, and he would just be listening to The Kids Aren't All Right while he's off, committing some kind of horrible, he's off stealing or something. So that's what I think. He'd be such a fan of The Offspring. All right. What kind of music do you think? Oh wait, I already answered that one. Your third question is, what's your favorite El Tigre episode, and who's your favorite character? I kind of already answered this, so sorry. Moving on now to Alec Johnson, who asks, do you wish the series had more seasons? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That's all I can say to that, is that yes, I wish that show had more seasons. Could Manny and Frida eventually be a couple? Well, they were kind of forced on it. That kind of came out of nowhere at the end of the series, so I guess that's a yes. So I don't know. Could they be a couple? I mean, yeah, they kissed at the end, but who knows how long they would have lasted? That's the bigger question. Is how long could they have stayed together? That's the bigger question. Who is your favorite villain of the series? I already answered this, that it's Black Cuervo, along with the Flock of Fury, but I also enjoy me some Sartana and the Chipotles. So thank you for those questions, Alec Johnson. Next set of questions come from Overnerd03, who asks, what do you think that last episode of El Tigre where Frida kissed Manny was it kind of pointless to you? Yes! It was kind of pointless because it just came out of nowhere. I mean, yeah, they joked around. Oh, should we be? They kind of like, oh, should we hug or something? No, they were friends, and then out of nowhere, after she beats, they beat by accident all of the villains, which obviously wouldn't last long because this series has the villains kind of running the town. But yeah, it just came. It kind of felt pointless. Like, well, that happened. I guess that's what it was like for me when I watched the ending. I was like, well, that happened. Okay. Anyway, so think of that question. Your second question is, if El Tigre had a comic book series, who should handle it in your head? I think someone like who understands, young characters. So someone like Christopher Yost. That would be my first and foremost pick. Is Chris Yost? He has a really good voice for young characters and can delve between the fun side and the serious side. He can go from being funny to serious. I mean, hell, look at some of his Young X-Men comics, and as well as Scarlet Spider, who, even though he's not a young character, there's a bit of lightheartedness and a bit of seriousness. And yeah, I think he could have done really well with an El Tigre comic. So Christopher Yost. If not him, I would have to say, who else? Matt Fraction. I don't know. Like Matt Fraction would be a fun pick. So Matt Fraction or Chris Yost. Anyway. And your third question is... Sorry, more water. What Hispanic hero from either Marvel or DC would you like Manny to meet? Kind of already answered this one. Is like, I'd love to see Manny hang out with Jaime Reyes, the Blue Beetle, because I feel like him and not because they're Hispanic, but because they obviously been granted a lot of great power, and sometimes they use it for their own ends. And they want to do good, but there are people, even in the superhero community, that are like, we don't know if you're ready for this. And sometimes they're like, dude, you're handling way too much power. You need to give it back. So I feel like they would really connect there, not because they're both Hispanic, but because they have a lot of power and they have to do something with, they have to handle this power responsibly. So thank you for those questions, Over Nerd 03. Next comes Sonic Halo 101, who asks, what if Metal, Sonic, and Scourge teamed up with the kid with the power armor to beat LT? What? Oh yeah, Senor Sinestro. I'm guessing that's your Senor Sinestro. Here's how it would go: Scourge and Metal Sonic would turn on Senor Sinestro, take his Metal Sonic would take his tech, absorb it, and proceed to beat the living shit out of everyone. That's how it would go. And your second question is, what would Grandpa think of Dr. Eggman? I believe it or not, I already answered this question already. So, like I said, I don't think they'd get along. In short, and your final question is, what would El Tigre think of Bean the Duck? Unfortunately, I don't know who Bean the Duck is, so I'm really sorry. I have no idea. Do you mean? I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't know who you mean. Unfortunately, who do you mean by Bean the Duck? I don't know who that is, so I'm sorry, but thank you for those questions regardless. And our final set of questions come from Dr. Dagon, who asks, who's your favorite character? I kind of already answered this question already. It's Black Cuervo. And your second question is, do you think El Tigre should have had more seasons? Again, already answered this question, and to answer, yeah. There's not much else I can say to that question other than, yeah, I really wish there would have been more seasons. Because I felt like the ending, I felt cheated at the end. You end everything on an 11-minute end. Really, that's how you're gonna end it right there. Doesn't even feel like an ending. It just feels like a cop-out. But I understand. I don't really blame the creators of this show. I blame more Nickelodeon and how they handle all their shit. I mean, look how they handled Korra. Again, you can probably blame Mike and Brian, but on the other hand, I kind of blame Nickelodeon for cutting it off right when it got good. Anyway, I'm going to get into a tirade if this continues. And your final question is, who's your least favorite character? Frida. Again, if anyone out there likes Frida, that's totally fine. I kind of thought she got on my nerves most of the time, because Frida, she didn't think, she just acted, and like I said, she was more of an enabler to Manny's, impulses. So, yeah, and also what really drove me nuts is that her hatred for Zoe, especially in the Cuervo project, was almost like, really, you're gonna force your friend to have a personal vendetta against her just just because you hate her? I don't know. I mean, yeah, she's a villain. She tried to, she did some horrible things, but it doesn't, someone extend the olive branch, please. Someone get, Fluttershy in here. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah. That is the Q&A. I want to thank everybody who asked questions, and again, if I didn't answer someone's question, YouTube was being a complete dick, or what had happened was that they marked this spam or didn't even show up on the list. So I want to apologize again for that. But once again, I hope you all enjoyed this Q&A. This was a lot of fun, and stay tuned for the Code Lyoko Q&A.